In the vast cathedral of existence, where time and space weave their eternal tapestry, there lies a silent language, an elemental code etched not in words or sounds but in patterns, rhythms, and forms that transcend the mere physical. This language is sacred geometry, a hidden architecture of the cosmos that whispers of origins, destiny, and a unity far beyond human comprehension. It is the blueprint beneath all creation, the silent symphony that orchestrates the dance of galaxies and the delicate unfolding of a single leaf. To gaze upon sacred geometry is to peer into the very fabric of reality, to catch a glimpse of the divine geometry that breathes life into the universe, an invitation to awaken from the slumber of ordinary perception and step into a realm where shape and spirit are inseparable. This exploration, the deep meaning behind sacred geometry, does not seek merely to admire patterns drawn on parchment or carved in stone. It calls us to a profound encounter with the cosmic mind itself. There is a pulse here, a living intelligence humming beneath the surface of appearances, an ancient wisdom encoded in the silent dialogue of circles, triangles, and spirals. For every believer, whether grounded in spiritual seeking or scientific curiosity, sacred geometry offers a portal into understanding that the universe is not chaotic randomness, but a carefully woven miracle, crafted with intention and purpose. It beckons us to investigate the invisible scaffolding that supports our reality, to unearth the sacred symbiosis between matter and meaning, form and function, the seen and unseen. Imagine standing before a labyrinth drawn in stardust, each line a thread leading not only outward into the cosmic vastness, but inward into the hidden chambers of your soul. Sacred geometry is that labyrinth, a map and mirror reflecting the eternal interplay of unity and multiplicity, order and mystery. It is both a cosmic fingerprint and a mirror shard, reflecting the intricate design that links the macrocosm, the boundless universe, to the microcosm nestled within our own consciousness. These patterns are not mere decorative motifs. They are the very language of being, a language older than time yet freshly alive in every heartbeat, every breath of creation. They invite us to decode the unseen laws that govern existence, to walk the bridge between science and spirit, between the tangible and the transcendent. Consider the circle, a shape without beginning or end, a perfect embrace of wholeness and infinity. It is the womb of creation, the cosmic ring where the dance of duality arises and dissolves into unity. The triangle, with its threefold harmony, speaks to the trinity of mind, body, and spirit, the elemental pillars of existence. The spiral, unfolding endlessly from a single point, echoes the sacred rhythm of growth and evolution, the very heartbeat of life as it unfurls across eons and incarnations. These are not random forms but sacred utterances, geometric prayers whispered by the universe as it molds itself into complexity. To witness these forms is to sense the invisible hand of an intelligent design, a sacred geometry that is both the architect and the artisan of the manifested cosmos. But beyond the visual and mathematical, sacred geometry resonates with a deeper vibration, an ancient knowledge that taps into the roots of consciousness itself. It is found in the petals of a flower, the branching of rivers, the spiral arms of galaxies, and the crystalline lattice of snowflakes. Each pattern is a fractal echo, a reflection of the same underlying code repeated at every scale, affirming the profound unity of all things. This repetition is not mere coincidence. It is the signature of a universal principle, a cosmic rhythm that pulses through all life and matter. To recognize it is to awaken to a universe alive with meaning, a cosmos that speaks to us in a sacred dialect coded in form and proportion. Sacred geometry becomes a key that unlocks doors to higher understanding, to the realization that we are not passive observers but active participants in the unfolding dance of creation. For every believer, whether aligned with ancient mystical traditions, modern metaphysical thought, or the quest for spiritual awakening, sacred geometry offers a profound insight into the nature of reality. It transcends cultural boundaries and religious dogmas, touching a universal chord that resonates deep within the human psyche. It is the language of the soul, inviting each seeker to embark on a journey inward and outward, where revelation and mystery entwine. This journey reveals that beneath the surface chaos of the world lies a coherent, ordered design, an echo of the divine mind that whispers through every sacred form. To engage with sacred geometry is to enter into communion with the cosmos, to attune one's inner life to the rhythms and harmonies that sustain all existence. In practical terms, this knowledge holds a mirror to our own lives. As we come to recognize the sacred patterns reflected within and around us, we begin to perceive ourselves as microcosms of the greater whole, fractals of the cosmic order. This awakening shifts our understanding of who we are, not isolated individuals drifting in a random sea of chance, but interconnected expressions of a grand design. It calls us to live with intention, to align our inner geometry with the universal symmetry that shapes all that is. In this alignment lies not just knowledge but transformation, a reweaving of the self in harmony with the sacred currents of life. Thus, the deep meaning behind sacred geometry is not only a metaphysical marvel, but a living, breathing philosophy, an arcane science of spirit and matter intertwined. It invites us to untangle the sacred threads woven through the lattice of reality. It summons us to awaken to the cosmic blueprint that lies behind the veil of ordinary sight. It is an essential insight for every believer, a transformative key to unlock the hidden chambers of existence and step beyond illusion into the luminous realm where geometry becomes a gateway to the divine. In this unfolding exploration, the sacred patterns of the universe call us to remember who we truly are, children of the cosmos, creators and curators of a sacred dance that stretches from the infinitesimal to the infinite. In the vast tapestry of existence, sacred geometry emerges not merely as a set of shapes or mathematical curiosities, but as an intricate language, an ancient script writ in the very fabric of reality. It is a cosmic cipher, a key woven into the scaffolding of life itself, revealing the eternal blueprints upon which all creation dances. At the heart of this profound understanding lies a series of guiding pillars, echoes of universal patterns that speak to the soul's silent recognition of order, harmony, and meaning beyond the apparent chaos of the visible world. As we turn our gaze inward and outward, the first whisper of sacred geometry's deep meaning reveals itself in the paradox between illusion and truth. The world we perceive is a mosaic of shifting shadows, a play of forms that deceives the senses and veils the eternal. Shapes unfold like mirrors, only to reveal their own reflections within the endless hallways of perception. Circles become spirals, triangles transform into stars. Yet beneath this mutable surface lies a timeless structure, an unseen architecture that governs not just physical form, but the rhythm of existence itself. It is here that sacred geometry teaches us to distinguish between the ephemeral and the everlasting, the flickering dance of appearances, and the silent hum of cosmic law. This discernment invites a radical shift in awareness. To behold sacred geometry is to embark on a journey from fragmentation to wholeness, from randomness to intentionality. It is to perceive the fractal nature of reality where every pattern, no matter how small, reflects the whole. Like droplets of rain mirroring the vast ocean, each geometric form carries the essence of universal harmony. The flower of life, with its interlocking circles, illustrates this principle with breathtaking clarity, each petal a story, each intersection a moment of convergence where infinite possibility unfolds. Within these sacred patterns, the illusion of separateness dissolves, and the interconnectedness of all things becomes palpable. Underlying this revelation is the principle of resonance, the idea that the universe sings in harmonics far beyond the reach of ordinary hearing. Sacred geometry is the language of that cosmic symphony, where every line and curve resonates with frequencies that shape matter and consciousness alike. The spirals of the Fibonacci sequence, spiraling outward in golden proportions, are not just mathematical curiosities but sacred melodies scribed in the ether. They pulse in the unfurling of fern leaves, the swirling arms of galaxies, and the cadence of our very heartbeat. Here lies an insight both humbling and electrifying, that the patterns we observe externally are not separate from the rhythms coursing through our own being. We are not passive observers but active participants, our inner vibrations tuning to the harmonics of universal design. This profound interconnectedness leads us to the next pillar, the notion that sacred geometry encodes not only form but also consciousness. It is a bridge between the seen and the unseen, a conduit through which the intangible flows into tangible reality. Ancient sages and mystics intuited this truth, recognizing that geometric forms serve as portals to higher states of awareness. Contemplating the Metatron's cube or the Platonic solids is more than intellectual exercise. It is a meditative encounter with the archetypal templates that shape matter and mind. These shapes, with their perfect symmetry and balance, invite us to reflect on the nature of our own inner architecture, the alignment of thought, emotion, and spirit as they converge into the unified whole of self. Within this contemplation lies the transformative power of sacred geometry. By attuning ourselves to these patterns, we unlock latent potentials within the psyche and open doorways to heightened perception. The sacred forms are seeds of awakening, each one carrying encoded wisdom that, when received, expands the boundaries of identity. To engage with these shapes is to immerse in a profound dialogue with the cosmos, a conversation that transcends words and bridges dimensions. We begin to understand that the geometries are not arbitrary symbols but living embodiments of universal truths, whispers from the soul of creation itself. Yet hidden beneath these foundational ideas is the ever-present tension between structure and freedom, order and mystery. Sacred geometry does not confine. It liberates by revealing the harmonious framework that supports infinite variation. Within the strictures of symmetry, there is room for boundless creativity. The cosmic pattern suggests that existence is a dynamic interplay of form and formlessness, a dance where law and chaos entwine in eternal embrace. This dynamic invites us to reconsider our own relationship with certainty and doubt, control and surrender. In recognizing the sacred patterns, we awaken to the paradox that the universe's greatest freedom resides in its underlying order. Such insights extend their reach into the realm of time and space, where sacred geometry serves as a map not only of the physical world, but of the dimensions that stretch beyond human perception. The grid-like lattice of the universe, as implied by these sacred forms, suggests that reality itself pulses with a crystalline intelligence, a holographic lattice through which information, light, and consciousness flow. This realization challenges linear conceptions of time and space, opening vistas where past, present, and future are folded into eternal now, where the cosmos is alive with unfolding potential, and the sacred geometry marks the pathways of evolution, both of the cosmos and the human spirit. In this celestial architecture, the believer finds a compass and a mirror. The compass guides the seeker through the labyrinth of existence, pointing toward the deeper mysteries encoded in the language of shape and proportion. The mirror reflects the seeker's own becoming, revealing that to understand the universe's design is simultaneously to understand the design of the self. The geometry is both map and territory, symbol and substance, hint and revelation. It whispers of forgotten knowings buried deep within the collective unconscious, waiting to be remembered and brought into conscious light. Thus, the core themes of sacred geometry unveil themselves as an invitation to awaken, to peer beyond the veil of the obvious and discern the sacred order beneath, to feel the pulse of cosmic resonance within, and to embrace the paradoxes of form and freedom that shape all life. In this interplay of light and shadow, structure and mystery, we are called to recognize that geometry is far more than the sum of its lines and curves. It is the breath of the cosmos, the language of spirit made manifest, and the blueprint for awakening to the infinite within and without. Through its eternal patterns, we come to know that reality is an exquisite dance of unity and diversity, where each believer steps into the sacred geometry of their own awakening. Beneath the veils of human perception, where time dissolves into timelessness and form trembles with meaning, the stories encoded within sacred geometry emerge as living allegories, whispers of cosmic truth clothed in the language of shape and shadow. Picture a great labyrinth etched not upon the earth, but within the very fabric of existence, its pathways woven from lines of light and shadow, spirals of intention and circles of becoming. This labyrinth, invisible to the eyes but vivid to the soul, invites the believer to step inside and journey not outward, but inward, through stories that resonate with the architecture of the cosmos itself. Imagine then the tale of the seed and the spiral. The seed, a perfect sphere cradled in the womb of darkness, holds within it the essence of all possibility, an infinitesimal point, pregnant with potential yet bound by silence. From this quiet singularity emerges the spiral, unfurling like the breath of the universe, a dance of expansion and contraction, birth and rebirth. The spiral is the sacred pulse, the rhythm of creation echoing from the microcosm to the macrocosm. Every turn, every curve sings of cycles, life's ceaseless flow through death into new life, the eternal return that animates stars and souls alike. This story, told through the golden ratio that shapes the nautilus shell and the galaxies, reminds the believer that growth is not a straight path but a sacred dance, each revolution carrying the imprint of the divine plan encoded in the curves of the cosmos. There is, too, the myth of the flower of life, a lattice of interconnected circles weaving a tapestry of unity from the seeming chaos of existence. This emblem is not merely an arrangement of lines. It is the cosmic loom upon which the very fabric of reality is woven. Each circle, touching and being touched, speaks of interdependence and wholeness, a symphony where every note is essential to the harmony of the whole. In this unfolding geometric miracle, the believer discovers the story of connection, how the individual blossoms are inseparable from the garden, and every soul threads through the heart of the collective. To gaze upon the flower of life is to glimpse the unseen matrix from which all life spirals forth, a sacred web of shared destiny and divine interlacing. Within these geometric fables, the figure of the Vesica Piscis emerges, a shape formed by the intersection of two circles, a moment of sacred overlap where dualities meet and merge. This almond-shaped portal becomes the archetype of creation itself, the sacred womb where opposites entwine to birth new realities. It is here that light and shadow, finite and infinite, self and other dissolve their boundaries, teaching the believer the paradox of unity birthed through division, and division healed through unity. The Vesica Piscis is the doorway through which the soul steps from separation into the boundless embrace of oneness, a reminder that beneath all distinctions lies a shared essence, a primal geometry of integration. Consider the story of the Platonic Solids, 5 perfect, eternal forms that echo the fundamental elements of existence. Each solid, with its precise symmetry and immutable angles, stands as a guardian of cosmic order. The tetrahedron, the fire of transformation; the cube, the earth of stability; the octahedron, the air of breath and freedom; the icosahedron, the water of fluidity; and the dodecahedron, the ether, the very fabric of the heavens. Together, they tell the parable of balance, harmony, and the elemental dance that sustains life. In their perfect proportions, the believer sees the template of wholeness, the sacred geometry that underlies the seeming chaos of matter and spirit. They are the cosmic dice, rolled not by chance but by divine intention, sculpting reality with mathematical grace and sacred intent. Interwoven with these shapes is the narrative of the Tree of Life, not simply a symbol from ancient mysticism, but a sacred diagram mapping the pathways of consciousness itself. Its roots burrow deep into the unseen realms, drawing from the infinite wells of hidden knowledge. Its branches stretch into the tangible world, bearing fruits of wisdom and awakening. Every node and pathway within this tree mirrors the geometry of spiritual unfolding, a symbolic cartography guiding the soul through dimensions of being and knowing. The believer walking this arboreal labyrinth carries within them the blueprint for transcendence, learning that each branch is a step toward the luminous heart of existence. And yet no branch can flourish without the nourishment of the roots sunk deep in the cosmic soil. Through these allegories, sacred geometry reveals itself not merely as abstract form, but as living metaphor, a symbolic language with which the cosmos converses. It is a celestial poetry where lines and curves become narratives of existence, mapping not only the stars but the soul's own journey from ignorance to illumination. Each shape pulses with the breath of the universe, inviting the believer to read beyond the surface, to hear the silent hymns that resonate in the heart of the cosmos. These sacred stories teach that to behold geometry is to witness the dynamic interplay of order and mystery, form and freedom, the eternal dance of creation made visible. In this dance, the believer becomes both the dancer and the dance, a conscious weaver of the sacred patterns that give life its meaning and depth. The geometry is a language older than words, a cosmic script etched into the very essence of reality, waiting for the soul to decipher its profound messages. It speaks of origins and destinies, of the hidden laws that cradle existence and the fundamental interconnectedness that binds all things. To immerse oneself in these symbolic stories is to embark on a pilgrimage through the sacred geometry of being, an odyssey that reveals, again and again, that beneath the mere surface of form lies the infinite, and within the infinite, the geometry of the human spirit itself. To step from the ethereal realms of sacred geometry into the tangible world of everyday existence is to bridge the seemingly immeasurable gulf between cosmic ideal and human experience. Yet, this transition is not a descent, but rather a deepening, a weaving of the infinite patterns held in the heavens into the finite tapestry of our tangible lives. Sacred geometry is no mere ornament of sacred temples or an esoteric curiosity confined to scrolls and symbols. It is an ever-present blueprint for harmony, a silent architect shaping the unfolding of reality beneath our feet and within our minds. To carry these insights into daily life is to awaken a profound awareness that the order embedded within every shape, every line, resonates not only outwardly in the architecture of nature, but also inwardly within the architecture of the self. Imagine walking through a forest where every leaf, every branch, every spiral of a fern mirrors the hidden geometry inscribed in the cosmos. To observe these forms through the lens of sacred geometry is to attune one's senses to the universal rhythm, to perceive the eternal dance of balance and proportion that governs both star systems and the structure of your own being. This recognition invites us to cultivate a form of mindfulness that is spatial and metaphysical at once, a conscious participation in the elegant patterns that sustain life. When your thoughts align with the sacred ratios of the golden mean, when your breath echoes the spiral of the nautilus shell, you begin to harmonize your internal world with the external order. This alignment fosters a sense of peace that is not merely psychological but cosmic, a resonance with the pulse of existence itself. In practical terms, this manifests as a subtle but profound shift in perception and behavior. The sacred geometry that once seemed to belong solely to ancient temples or celestial charts becomes a living guide for how we interact with our environment and each other. The awareness that the same patterns underlie all creation urges a reverence for nature as a sacred manifestation rather than a resource to be exploited. This reverence can transform mundane actions, how one chooses to walk through a garden, arrange a room, or even sculpt a moment of conversation, into expressions of the universal geometry. We find ourselves naturally drawn to balance and symmetry, discovering an instinctive harmony in our surroundings that calms the mind and nourishes the spirit. In this way, sacred geometry is not a distant doctrine but a practical philosophy, whispering ancient truths into the cadence of daily living. The sacred patterns also inform our relationships and community dynamics, serving as metaphors for the interconnectedness that binds us all. Just as a fractal is composed of smaller versions of itself, so too does each individual reflect the larger whole of humanity and the cosmos. Recognizing this fractal quality invites empathy and compassion, urging us to see beyond the illusion of separation. Within the interlocking shapes of the flower of life or the harmonics of the Vesica Piscis, there lies a reminder that unity is woven through multiplicity. When we carry this understanding into our interactions, we begin to honor the sacred geometry of connection, where every word, gesture, or intention is a thread contributing to the intricate web of collective existence. Here, sacred geometry becomes a language of relationship, teaching us to build bridges of understanding shaped by the principles of balance, proportion, and mutual respect. Moreover, sacred geometry offers a profound template for personal transformation and spiritual growth. The unfolding of the Fibonacci sequence mirrors the pattern of natural evolution and awakening, guiding the soul through cycles of expansion that are both orderly and mysterious. When one meditates upon these patterns or integrates them into contemplative practices, they become portals into deeper states of consciousness. The sacred forms serve as keys unlocking the doorways to inner vision, awakening the latent capacities within the human spirit. This is not an abstract or arcane process, but a lived reality where geometry becomes a tool for mapping the journeys of the soul, illuminating pathways out of confusion and chaos into clarity and coherence. To engage with sacred geometry in this way is to embark on a journey inward, discovering that the sacred patterns are not only inscribed across the cosmos, but also etched within the contours of one's own inner landscape. In creative expression, too, sacred geometry plays a catalytic role, inspiring artists, architects, and visionaries to channel the divine proportions into forms that elevate consciousness. The ancient temples, mandalas, and labyrinths constructed with precision and devotion are living testaments to how sacred geometry molds the physical realm. Today, this influence extends into modern design, music, and even technology, reminding us that creativity is a sacred act, an echo of the original cosmic creation. To bring sacred geometry into one's creative practice is to align with a universal source of harmony and beauty, turning each act of creation into a conscious co-creation with the cosmos. This alignment fosters not only aesthetic pleasure, but also a sense of purpose and belonging, as the creator becomes a conduit for the sacred patterns flowing through all existence. As these insights seep into the fabric of life, they also encourage a re-examination of the ways we engage with time and space. Sacred geometry teaches that these dimensions are not rigid containers, but fluid arenas where the eternal and the ephemeral meet. To live by this understanding is to embrace the cyclical rhythms that govern both the cosmos and the human condition, seasons of growth and rest, expansion and contraction, birth and death. Recognizing the geometric cadence of time invites patience and a deeper trust in the unfolding of life's mysteries. It encourages us to move with grace through change, to see endings not as losses, but as necessary phases in the sacred spiral of becoming. In this way, sacred geometry becomes a cosmic compass, guiding us through the labyrinth of existence with the assurance that every twist and turn serves a higher design. Ultimately, to integrate the deep meanings of sacred geometry into daily life is to awaken to the grandeur embedded in the smallest moments. It is to perceive the sacred stitch in the fabric of reality that connects the mundane with the miraculous. The believer who lives by these insights carries within a quiet power, the power to transform perception, to cultivate harmony, and to weave a life that honors the hidden architecture of the universe. This is a call to live consciously, to dance knowingly within the sacred patterns that cradle all being, and to recognize that every breath, every step, is a movement in the eternal geometry of existence itself. As we draw the threads of this cosmic tapestry together, we stand at the threshold of profound understanding, a quiet place where knowledge and mystery entwine, beckoning us toward a deeper communion with the sacred geometry that shapes our existence. The journey through the labyrinth of lines and curves, patterns and proportions, has revealed not merely a set of abstract forms, but a living language written in the very fabric of reality. It whispers to us in the silent pulse of stars, in the spiral of galaxies, and in the delicate unfurling of a fern leaf, inviting us to perceive beyond the apparent and awaken to the symphony of order underlying apparent chaos. This geometry is no mere intellectual curiosity. It is the breath of the universe made visible, the primal script that encodes the harmony between form and essence, between the seen and the unseen. It serves as a celestial map, guiding the seeker through realms where spirit and matter converge, and where each shape holds a key to unlocking the doors of perception. To recognize these patterns is to glimpse the blueprint of creation itself, a sacred architecture that invites us to remember our place within an infinite, interconnected whole. In embracing this revelation, one is called to a transformation that is at once subtle and sweeping. The believer, whether a mystic, an artist, a scientist, or a wanderer of inner landscapes, is asked to step into a new posture of reverence and awareness. The hidden geometries do not dictate or constrain. Rather, they illuminate the pathways by which we may align ourselves with the pulses of cosmic law and the rhythms of natural law, fostering a synergy that nurtures balance and creative flow. This alignment is not a distant ideal but a living practice. It is found in the mindful breath, the attuned gaze, the conscious intention that we bring to every act of being. To live in recognition of sacred geometry is to engage with the world as a sacred text, where every pattern, from the spiraling shells on the shore to the crystalline lattice of snowflakes, becomes a verse of divine lyricism. It transforms our experience of time and space, revealing them as pliant and imbued with meaning, rather than arbitrary containers of existence. Each moment folds into the next as part of a grander spiral, a dance of expansion and contraction that echoes the eternal pulse of creation. Within this dance, we find both origin and destiny, a reminder that the journey toward wholeness is both a reaching outward and a turning inward, an infinite contraction into the heart of presence itself. The deep meaning behind sacred geometry thus transcends intellectual grasp. It invites a surrender to mystery, an invitation to dwell in the spaciousness between knowing and unknowing. It is here, in this fertile liminal space, that transformation blooms, where the rigid walls of ego soften into the fluid embrace of unity. The believer who carries these insights can begin to see with new eyes, hearing the silent music that shapes the world and feeling the profound pulse that beats beneath surface appearances. In this awakening, the ordinary is suffused with sacred light, and the act of living becomes an offering, a co-creative unfolding with the cosmos itself. And so, as we close this exploration, the call rings clear and resonant. To live consciously within the sacred geometry of existence is to step into a dance of becoming, where every gesture is an act of creation and every breath a thread woven into the eternal design. It is a call not merely to understand, but to embody, to let the patterns shape us as much as we seek to shape them. In this reciprocal movement, the outer world and the inner world mirror one another, revealing that the geometry of the cosmos is also the geometry of the soul. This final invitation asks us to linger in the mystery and to honor the sacred currents that flow through all things. It asks us to trust that beneath the surface of form and shadow lies a radiant order, a luminous intention guiding us through the complexity of being. To walk this path is to awaken to the sacred pulse that animates all life, to live as conscious architects of harmony in a world often fragmented by distraction and dissonance. It is to become, in the fullest sense, believers, keepers of the ancient wisdom, bearers of the cosmic flame, and co-creators of the unfolding universe. May this contemplation inspire you to peer deeper into the sacred patterns that surround you, to listen with open heart and mind, and to move forward with a spirit attuned to the eternal geometry of existence. In doing so, may you find that the deep meaning of sacred geometry is not a distant truth hidden in the stars, but a living light awakening within, guiding you home to the infinite mystery from which all form is born and into which all form shall return.